Welcome back, free spirits, to another episode of Flying Upstream. Before we get into it, make sure you check out our website, flyingupstream.com, for all our amazing episodes and our incredible guests. Today, we're joined by someone who has spent over 2 decades guiding people toward better health and longevity. Zane Griggs has been helping people improve their metabolic health and fitness since 1998. He's the author of Kicking Ass Over 50 and host of Healthy After 50 podcast. Zane delivers integrative health strategies that help clients perform at a high level and meet the demands at any age. What makes Zane so fascinating and why we're excited to talk to him today is that his career has been defined by curiosity, experimentation, and the courage to admit when he's been wrong. Over the past 2 years, he's completely re examined much of what he thought he knew about diet and fitness, and his journey is a powerful reminder of why staying curious matters more than clinging to old beliefs. Zane, welcome to Flying Upstream.
Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. So tell us a bit about where what has brought you to where you are. You've been coaching people in the health and fitness world since 1998. What
Yeah.
first drew you to this field, and how did your personal family history with heart disease shape your mission?
Well, I was mid twenties, early mid twenties. I was seeing uncles, my dad's older brothers, dealing with things like heart disease, even diabetes. And my dad wasn't. He was a little younger than them, but he was taking care of himself, significantly different health trajectory for him because and in my assessment at the time, because he paid attention to what he was eating, he was exercising. It wasn't perfect, but he put attention to it. And I thought, I don't want that outcome that they're experiencing for me. I felt bad for them, but at the same time, that was not the trajectory I wanted for my life, and I wanted to figure out what it took to avoid it. So I just started experimenting, reading. This is the 90s, so we didn't have the internet, we didn't have forums and things like that. So I just started reading, asking questions, experimenting, and so I think I've kept that to some degree, that pattern ongoing with a lot of experimentation and kind of pushing boundaries. But that's really what drew me to just avoiding metabolic disease.
And early on, you experimented with just about everything: low carb, being vegetarian,
Yeah.
vegan, fasting. And looking back, what was driving that constant exploration?
I would, it's kind of my habit. I tend to take things to the point of, I want to say extreme, but I definitely push the envelope. Sometimes I do something to the point of a failure, or until I hit a wall, or until I hit something that tells me to pull back. Sometimes to my own detriment. But it was always a learning process, and I think I learned from each phase of these experiments. Obviously, not just bad lessons, not just hard lessons, but I learned positive things in each way. And throughout the course, I think I learned how, about food, about cooking, about food preparation, which I think is important. Whatever dietary strategy you take on, you should learn how to prepare your own food. But it was taking things to the point of, like, to that edge where I was like, you know what? I think I've over leveraged this strategy. I've either done it too long, done it too hard, or a little bit of both. And I need to kind of pull back and reassess and balance. And that's really been kind of my pattern. It's not unusual, but I think that pattern has been what's brought me to where I am right now, where I am realizing that getting romantic, if you will, with your strategies, with your ideas, with your beliefs, is not always in your best interests, and it can cloud your judgment and make you overlook or ignore what, in my case, what my body was telling me early on. And so it's really been that kind of hard headedness that has led me to realize, okay, I need to step back sometimes and have a better, a less emotional perspective about what I'm doing, and realize that this is that at some point every strategy is just a tool to get to an end, and I need to keep the end goal in mind. rather than get too caught up in the actual strategy to that goal. That's sort of a long-winded answer, but that's basically where I've come through all of those experiments.
Well, what I love about what you just said is that you're focused on the end goal, not the immediate process of whatever that is, right? It's very easy for
Mhm.
people to get caught up in trends and fads and this
Right,
diet or that diet. But really the goal is being healthy or
right,
weight loss or getting rid of heart disease, whatever that is. That's your goal.
right,
Right? And
right,
and in the world of software, I was in software for a long time, we call it fail fast. So that means just try something, go until it doesn't work anymore, and then keep trying, keep trying. Otherwise, if you never do anything, you'll never figure out
right.
anything. Absolutely. Now, you've shared that after 20 years of following all these approaches, you feel like you hit a wall. You're feeling run down,
Yeah.
underfed, kind of questioning everything. Can you take us into that moment? What was happening in your body and your mind?
Well, physically, I was, like you said, run down. I was looking at blood work and seeing examples of just I would say elevated cortisol, which elevated metabolic stress. I've been over leveraging at that time when I really hit that wall was over leveraging a lot of intermittent fasting and fasted workouts and under fueling with low carb and all of those things together. Really, I was disturbed sleep, was not progressing, and workouts actually felt overtrained. And I was just questioning myself, questioning everything I've been telling people to do. And it was humbling. It was it was a hard lesson, but coming through that, it was like, okay, well, there's something, there's an answer here somewhere, right? There's a better way, and I can only hope that this lesson is what leads me to a better place that I can, help my clients and myself, because I've got a lot of years left to go. To really find that balance, and um, it led me to what it led me to realize is that no strategy. Well, our body is very adaptive, right? Our body will adapt to almost anything, or at least it tries to. And the initial, like with any strategy that creates an effect, that initial change or initial shift towards adaptation is what creates whether it's the weight loss or the energy or the cleanse, whatever it is you're trying to do. It's that initial shift or adaptation to change that creates that effect. But over a period of time, as our body continues to adapt and reach what's called homeostasis, where everything is balanced, we start losing some of those initial benefits. They're not as distinct, and sometimes they go away completely because our body is adapting, and we end up many times with an adjustment that is not what we're hoping for. In some cases, it could be reduced thyroid, so less energy being produced, or it could be, like I was experiencing, disturbed sleep, elevated cortisol levels. And so in that adaptation, we move past the initial benefits and into a place that we weren't expecting, but it's almost negative side effects. And it showed me that life, or that where our strategies is a lot like life. It's ebb and flow, right? So we go through seasons. So there are seasons of it. And so by using a strategy seasonally, or with moments or periods of, in case of a diet, it could be what's called a refeed, or where you basically go back to a balance, let your body reset, and then go back into maybe that strategy again to get those beneficial effects before your body completely adapts and you start incurring the downside. And it was a realization as to one, how our bodies respond to things, right? How quickly it can adapt, how I guess resilient it is, but in how, as humans, at least especially me, um, I tried to over leverage that and got stuck. I let it get me stuck. And I kind of, honed in, like I said, latched on to a strategy that I thought was the winner. I found it. This is it, right? Not really acknowledging that adaptive ability of our bodies that can actually get us in that rut. And so it really made me appreciate, one, the body's resilience, but two, the danger of, like I said before, getting so emotional about or caught up with or latched onto the strategy rather than the end result, which caused me to lose perspective. And I think that was the big lesson, was like our body's adaptive response is something to be considered. And it means we are not stagnant. We aren't stagnant. Our bodies aren't stagnant. We don't stay the same. It's constantly changing. And so we have to respect that. We have to respect our body's resilience, but understand that it's not always in our best interest to fully adapt to whatever change we're bringing in. And it's not an answer. I think when people talk about balance, they act as if that's a place. But if you're on something that's uneven, like a teeter-totter or some kind of something you're trying to balance on, you're not static, right? You're constantly adjusting. You're constantly shifting to maintain balance. There's a constant movement. It may be subtle, but balance is not stagnant. Balance is active.
Absolutely.
And that was the light bulb.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. And it makes sense because what I'm thinking about is like young children, like babies, right? Parents always joke, when you have a little kid, just when you figure out what works, they grow and they change, and then that no longer works anymore. And it's,
Yep.
as a parent, it's frustrating. You finally figured out how to calm them, and then it doesn't work. But it's funny that we recognize that in young children, but we think in our minds somehow when you become an adult, that just goes away. And there is this
Right.
magical land of balance that once you get there, you're set for life. And what you're saying is, the reality is that's just not true. It we are never not moving, right? We're aging, our life is changing around us
Right.
all the time, whether we want it to or not. And so it only makes sense that that sense of curiosity and exploration needs to go with us as we
Yeah.
go on in life too. Yeah,
Right.
that's beautiful. And I can see how that would be really hard to let go of that concept, because we're not taught that, right? Everything in
No.
marketing, we see products that are being sold to us. It's
Oh,
like, buy this pill, buy this juice, and you'll be transformed forever.
right. And then write a book around it.
Right.
Write a book around it. Now it's in print, and people are reading it 3, 4, 5 years later. Sometimes, or quoting it back to you. Well, wait a minute, didn't you put this in your book, and now you're saying this? And so you've got. I've seen it with with friends who have written books as well. It's like, you wrote the book about this, and now you're saying this. What? And they really, you get locked in. You get locked into this ideology or this approach from the perspective of the people, and then it can come back at you where they're saying, "Oh, you've changed. You'll say anything to sell something," and as if it's the marketing ploy, when really you've just moved forward in your perception.
Yeah,
Truth has
absolutely.
not completely revealed herself to us all yet. It continues to be revealed.
Mhm.
And I think when we try to land on something, like, oh, I found truth. I found truth in this thing. That's a dangerous place to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And the downside of that is that nobody wants to believe that, right? They want to believe you buy the juice or the pill and you're set.
Hmm.
But it's being able to be humble enough and vulnerable enough to seek out the courage to not only to change, but to admit that what you're doing, what you may have invested in, no longer works anymore, which is totally fine, which is human, which is normal. But our society has sort of demonized that concept, right? You make a mistake, you're terrible, you're out, don't listen to this person, right?
Right.
And that's just not real life, right? So
No.
now I know you created a documentary and you wrote a book that reflected on your earlier perspective. And now you're saying, I don't believe in it anymore. And that takes a lot of courage. How do
Yeah.
you navigate stepping forward with these new truths while still honoring the work and community that you've built in the past?
That's a difficult situation I'm still walking through. I think, like, I without completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as I say, there can be benefits to certain of these strategies in the short term, and I think that's where I am now, where someone, not every person, but someone might find benefit in a situation on a short term basis with some of these strategies, but realize they need to be aware of the downside of fully adapting to it. They need to be aware of the risks associated with it, so they can recognize those risks or those things happening, right? Their body changing negatively, so that you know when to shift, to pull back a little bit, to bring some balance back into the situation. I think it's that any extreme, the realization that any extreme strategy that creates an immediate result is going to have risks associated with it that you have to be aware of and understand that you have to ebb and flow out of it before those things happen. And that's the perspective I try to take, without demonizing any one strategy, but realizing there's benefits to all of them in the right circumstance for the right period of time. They're tools. And it's like each tool has a purpose for a time and a place. And we don't, we're not trying to screw something in the wall with a hammer, right? But so often, because we're just used to using the hammer all the time, we just want to keep using the hammer, keep smacking it with a hammer. But that's not the right tool. And I think that's where I try to help people and help myself understand it's not about that's right, this is wrong, because that's what got me in trouble here to begin with. But timing and wisdom and understanding that, like we just discussed, change is inevitable. Our body's adaptive resiliency is the beauty of it, but it also requires us to be just really stay on our toes, to be open-minded, and to be reading what our body is telling us. So I'm trying not to alienate in my expression of, and of where I'm understanding things right now, but at the same time, not hold back on truth either. And so it's a delicate walk, because I don't want to offend people, but at the same time, I want to be honest and truthful and really help people who are open, right, and ready. And I just have to set myself in that when someone's ready, then they'll be able to hear what I'm saying, and not take too much concern over someone's response who just isn't ready to hear it.
Absolutely. I think is really unique about what you're doing is that you are being the role model, truly. And I don't mean that just like, oh, you eat your vegetables every day and you exercise. Like, no, you're going through a true inner transformation, like at the soul level. And that is very hard to get to, right? Because people like to cling to that idea of like, oh, I'm just going to drink the juice. I exercise 3 times a day. That will give me this perfect life. But we don't know how to let go of things. Just like you said, we're so used to using that hammer that if you just use the hammer forever and you don't recognize like, hey, we got to put the hammer down. Hammer's not working anymore,
Right.
right? And that's what you are modeling. And so I can see some people being in attack mode saying, oh, he's a fake, he's a phony, he's just changing his mind now. Oh, that's not it at all, right? That's not at all what you're doing. Instead, you're actually truly modeling what it is like to be self-reflective, to put the hammer down and say, you know what? The hammer was great 10 years ago. I should have stopped it 10 years ago, but I didn't. And that's okay, right? Every day we make a little bit of progress. And there is no such thing as perfect. It just doesn't exist. It's not
Right.
real. It's just
Right.
not real. So as you're going through this journey, how are you staying open and curious, especially when it does mean admitting I was wrong?
The curiosity part I've always had. I think that's how I got here is just constantly looking for the next improvement. Um, I'm really sitting in this feeling of, wow, I just spent X number of years, promoting these concepts and these ideas and over leveraging them, and I'm really soaking in it. I'm soaking in that a bit of humility, I think, or that realizing that how I did it again. Like I took something to another extreme, to the point of hitting a wall again. And that it's like, how many times do you have to burn yourself before you realize the stove's hot? I'm just I'm just like looking at that burn, and I'm like, yeah, let's not do that again, Zane. So I'm really just kind of soaking in it, I think is what it is, and trying to be humble and not be judgmental of the people who I'm speaking to, who are in the same place I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and understanding everybody's on a journey, and I'm at this place in my journey, and they're another place in their journey, and all I can do is express where I am at my journey, and realize I'm still on it, and that 5 years from now I'll look back and go, oh wow, so much. I understand so much more. So I understand this so much better. But allow other people to do that. Not get a big head about it. Not get self-righteous about it, but just allow people to be in their journey while I'm on mine, and realize that again, 3, 4, 5 years from now, I'll look back and go, I didn't understand that, didn't understand what I understand now 5 years ago. I thought I had really got it, but again, every 3 to 5 years, I can look back and go, and really embrace that, and really, I haven't arrived. I'm not going to arrive. As long as I keep walking, I'm going to keep learning. So.
Absolutely. And there's so much about your journey that reminds me of myself and Louisa, our respective journeys as well, where you have that moment and you realize like, oh my goodness, everything I've been doing is completely wrong. And there's so many emotions that go along with that.
Right.
And the fact that you are able to stay open and just go along with it, just be like, hey, this is a journey and a process. I'm not judging anybody else who's on a different journey. I'm in my own, and
Right.
just kind of going through it, just letting it all wash over you is really the way to go. I think people who are fighting it, people are like, no, I have to stay on my path. That's what society is telling me is right. That's what everyone says. That can be such a struggle, but I really have a lot of respect for you that you're like, no, I'm admitting this and I'm going to go with it. And even the excitement that you can't wait to look back 3 or 5 years from now and see how much you've changed, I think is really, really admirable.
Thank you.
So Zane, we're winding down. We've got one last question for you. If there's one truth you want to leave our audience with, one lesson from your own transformation that can help them live fully at any age, what would that be?
Well, it'd be what we've been talking about. I would say stay curious. I mean, you've just got to stay curious. Don't think you've arrived. Stay curious. Keep moving forward. And I still, I know I've got an approach, that there's some things that are truth. There's some things where I know, like, if you avoid these foods, or if you move this way, this is going to be beneficial to you. Is it the end all be, is it everything? No, but there's some basic truths that I can share with people that it's that I know are going to help them, right? They're going to help them be healthier. And they're not dogmatic in any way, but I think I can back them enough with science. 27 years of doing this, 35 years of experimenting, I have arrived on some truth, some things that are beneficial for people. And so I put that in a little download. It's called the Free 40 Plan. So I really focus on people who are in my age category. I'm 54, and we're like 40 to 65 ish, career driven people, and how to help them navigate that time in their life where they're like, maybe things are shifting, but they have a lot of demands on them, a lot of stress, career, family, and all these stressors add up. It's like, so how do we navigate those with our health and maintain our health while still performing at a high level. So I have this free download. It's called Free 40 Plan. So it's free40plan.com. They can download and see kind of my basics of how I approach a client with cleaning up the diet, getting some basic movement down, and assessing some basic metabolic biomarkers in their blood work. And so I just give them a little tool to say, consider these are the things I've arrived at this point in my journey that I think would be beneficial. And so free40plan.com. I'd love to offer your audience that.
Thank you. I will be first in line to download that. I definitely need that. Zane, thank you so much for bringing your honesty, your humility, and your curiosity to today's conversation. Your story reminds us all that it's never too late to re-examine, to keep learning, and to choose authenticity over comfort. For all our free spirits out there, thank you for joining us today. Check out more episodes on flyingupstreampodcast.com. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and of course,